Hello everyone. So this is a little bit unexpected maybe because I said I was going to do partial episode then tier lists in the end of the last episode, but in the middle of it my computer crashed. So great. Good news, we only lost Homestuck, which it's funny, not the most important thing, right? Unfortunately, this was probably the funniest one yet because it's all about Caliborn learning to draw manga and learning about Bishi. Anyway, we'll see. There's still some left. Like, I didn't get through the whole thing before it crashed, so we'll see what happens. For those of you who are members, I will record another episode for this week, essentially. So you'll see that as soon as I'm finished. I do have to prioritize getting Wednesday's video out first, so I'll try to get it out as soon as I can. And then for everybody else, you're seeing this, there's another episode out today, including this. So just know this is canonically happens first, then the other thing happens. So I won't be taking into account anything that happens in that episode that was also posted today, which is like number episode 120. I'm not taking into account anything that happens in episode 120. So this is technically episode 119, I guess. Or maybe that'll be 119 and this will be like 118 alpha. That'd be funny. Maybe I'll do that. We'll see. Anyway, tier list time. Here we go. I'm going to take Karkat out of best and Jake out of worst just in case things have changed. And let's do it. So I don't think any of the irrelevant alphas have done anything, so they're staying. They would have stayed anyway. I still don't have very strong feelings on any of them. I feel like Callie and Caliborn, I also feel the same about. Caliborn is still funny. He was always a little bit funny, but he's not really a menacing villain yet. A lot of people have said he doesn't really get there, which is fine. I mean, he can just be another character. But in terms of all the characters in Homestuck, he's kind of middle of the road, you know? He's got one funny bit. And you know what? That's more than a lot of other characters can say, so good for him. Callie, I mean, she's at least got something a little bit more emotionally resonant going on with her, like being stuck alone in her little bubble or whatever. And I think she's got some decent playtime with some of the characters where you kind of get to like, she kind of unpacks them a little bit, which is nice. So I think I'm moving her above Caliborn, but that's it. Okay. Thank God. The Teresurrection is happening. Yes. Yes, Terezi. I like the blindfolded look. I like taking her fate into her own hands, kind of, by like going over her own eyes. I like that she tried to kill Gamzee. I even like the moment where Gamzee was like, please, you're hurting me. And that she had like a moment of remorse because it ties in with her guilt around killing Vriska. So good. Yes, finally. In fact, I think I'm probably going to put her at top of A. I don't think I can put her back in S yet. This has to continue, but right now I'm excited. I'm happy. It feels kind of stupid because I feel like I just put them up here last time, but I'm just going to drop Aradia and Solix down. They're also kind of characters with one bit that they do very well, and that feels like it should be B tier category. Although maybe that should be C tier? Maybe I should actually make the tiers something, okay? But I don't want to, because it feels like some of these characters are in here for different reasons. So, I don't know. I think top of B tier makes sense, which obviously Arania and Vriska really stand out against these four now. I feel like Vriska needs her own tier. Which I hate doing this, and I hate when people do it because it is a cop-out. But I mean, if I was going to cop out on any character, it'd be Vriska. And it's the teetering characterization of Vriska. Hold on, let me just do a little... There we go. because I kind of explained it at the end of the last episode. I really like one interpretation of Vriska, and I really don't like the second interpretation of Vriska. And I think the second one is canon, but it seems like it gets ignored most of the time. So the first one seems most likely. So what can I say? She'd either end up in probably B tier, because she's still more interesting than like Equius or Pfeffery. Also, where's Nepeta? This is the list without Nepeta, isn't it? You know, we'll just use Mulin. People might be confused about that, but Mulin still stays down here. Nepeta, Pfeffery, and Equius are all kind of in this area. Although even like the three of them, not really Pfeffery and Nepeta maybe, but Equius came back as the sprite, and I think he's actually a pretty fun sprite. I like Arqueus sprite. But this is ranking Equius, not Arqueus sprite, so until I've seen every character, I can't do a full tier list, unfortunately. Because there's spoilers still, apparently. As if we need more characters, but apparently there's still a couple more to show up. I'm imagining they might be like alternate forms I haven't seen yet, like Grimbark Jade, you know? Anyway, yeah, Vriska... If it's the first interpretation of her where she's like taking everything into her own hands in order to like give herself personal glory, but also because she feels like she's the only one who can do it and she doesn't really want to burden other people with making the hard choices, that's like an S tier, almost A tier. Whereas if it's the other Vriska who's like all bravado and she's like just acting in a way that she thinks she should based on the ancestor thing still. And she's actually like super remorseful and thinks that she like wronged everybody. That's like a C tier. It's hard because I like anti-hero Vriska. I dislike anti-villain Vriska, I think, is the way I would say it. Like, Vriska doing the right things with the wrong methods, I like. Vriska doing the wrong things for the right methods, I dislike. That's just where I am. Because, like, the things she does don't really track with doing the right things for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. Anyway. I feel like Mina has to go in here. I mean, she fits along with Solix and Aradia and Caliborn as having one joke and doing it very well. So I feel like that works. Maybe Calliope shouldn't be in this tier then. But I don't really like her a lot better than... like, I don't like her more than Aradia. And that's really what this tier list is based on. Like, I use the writing as reasoning for why I like these characters one way or another. But really, it's just down how much I like them. So, yeah, I think she's going to stay anyway, even though she doesn't technically fit in this tier. Arania, I think Arania gets a boost here. Take Mina's spot. Kind of. Her plan, yeah, it might be stupid and ill-founded, but I think it's a very fun character study for her. And it's a fun, like, reflection of Vriska. I like it. It's good. If only all the alphas could be like this. But then again, I don't think we need all those extra characters in the story. Shockingly, oh man, this is shocking. Oh, this feels wrong. I'm hoping that as the story continues now, Gamzee's going to continue being the monstrous rage clown. Hopefully. And stop just being a weird, unexplained cameo in like the far-flung future. That'd be cool. I mean, he can be both. He can be a weird, unexplained cameo in the far-flung future, and also the rage clown monster in the present. I'd be okay with that, but I don't want him to be like a future character that's just like an unexplained cameo, essentially. And then like in the present, he's just kind of like a dope who everybody talks about, but we never see. Because okay. And I was hesitant with the Terezi characterization last time, right? And I was like, we have to see where this goes. If this goes in a fun direction, I could like it. I like what is happening right now with the fight on the lava lake. is very good. I wish we got more setup for it, you know? Like, I wish we could have at least seen some of these interactions between Terezi and Gamzee that we're referencing here, which we have never at all, ever. It all happened off screen. Even just, like, in a flashback, that would have been something. Or, like, even just Terezi, like, talking about one of them in detail. Because, like, Terezi said something that made me think, like, maybe Gamzee had hit her before. I don't know exactly what was going on there. Like, they fought each other, right? But I have no idea because we've got, like, no information. And it would make sense because they're the whole black rom hate romance thing that they've fought each other before. But, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I like the current dynamic. I hope the characters stay on this trajectory and don't regress. Please, I beg of you. Okay. I'm Oh, that's tough, actually. Okay. I shouldn't do best and worst yet. I still have some sorting to do. I think. I think I'm gonna put Jade at the bottom of S currently. Jade was doing some cool stuff. I don't really care for the Grimbark thing. It's like kind of funny, but it also basically has taken Jade out of the story. Like real Jade, you know? She's just like completely a different character. So, not a huge fan of that. This just happens every now and then. Rose went grimdark and was just completely a different character for a while that spoke in grunts. It was very not helpful for characterization. Wasn't there somebody else who had like a similar thing? Who just like stopped talking? Was relegated to like background stuff. I mean, Solix and Aradia were kind of that for a while. Gamzee, that was the other one I was thinking of, who just like went on a weird like different character mode completely and stopped talking. And yeah, I don't know. I still like Roxy a lot. I still like Dave a lot. I think maybe Dave over John currently. It's crazy, the Striders. I like Karkat more than Dave, but I think currently my favorite character is Dirk. I just feel like Dirk has got so much going on. And it's not that he's got so much going on, it's that he's got so much going on and I understand all of it. You know? Like, there's no tricks to it, there's no obfuscation, there's no mystery box to be unpacked later. Dirk struggles with a similar issue to Karkat, where he's always going up against himself, and at the same time, he's having a tumultuous relationship situation with Jake. And at the same time, there's like a weird muscle clone of himself going like, you just gotta be better. And then, you know, he's also trying to keep the entire group safe. It's great. Pretty much everything with Dirk is great. I don't think that anything has been done with Dirk so far that I've thought was lame. So, yeah, pretty much. Although I will say, Karkat also had some good moments in that last episode, and some good comedic moments before that, but some good like actual heartfelt Karkat moments, which is my favorite Karkat moments, with the whole Terezi getting her ass beat. Kanaya also had slightly a good moment, you know? I think Kanaya and Karkat have underrated rapport. I wish I could see them together more often. But at the same time, like, I'd rather see Kanaya interact with, like, 8 other people first, so, you know, it's fine. The worst character is a lot harder for me to pick. Because, okay, here's my... here's my problem. My brain says Eridan. I think overall, if you look at all of Homestuck, Eridan is the character that I think is the worst. Because he had the potential to be cool, and it was completely squandered with no setup. Then he was cut in half and completely disappeared out of the story entirely. Like, Aerosol, the sprite, is kind of funny, but that's mostly relying on Solix's personality more than Eridan's, you know? Like, there's not a whole ton that I was like, oh, this is a specifically Eridan thing. Other than maybe, like, a fish pun a couple times, you know? Which we got Mina for that. We don't need Eridan anymore. So yeah, my brain says Eridan is the worst character. My heart says it's Jake, because Jake has put me through the most in terms of ruining things for everyone. Then again, it's like not Jake's fault, right? But the problem is the story it's written in a way that you really can't sympathize with him. You know what I mean? It's like written in a way that it kind of makes him the worst, you know? Because again, like, overall, what he's done compared to like what Eridan did, and like the setup for Eridan's murder spree is way worse not having than some setup for Jake doing anything. Like, Jake is still at the bottom of his totem pole of potential. There's still like a whole story ahead of him, whereas Eridan's story is done and none of it was good. So, and that's kind of intentional, but at the same time, when it comes to like, oh, which characters do you like? It does make him the worst, I think. But he's also out of the story, so I don't have to deal with him anymore. So it's like, is it Jake or is it Eridan? And then, to complicate things even further, my soul says the worst character for me right now is Jane, which is going to make people mad. But it's not because I don't like Jane. It is literally like almost the same thing as Eridan. I think Eridan had the potential to be a really good villain for like early Homestuck and then get killed. I would have been totally fine with that. The problem is there was no setup for his villain arc, right? And then he just got killed and disappeared from the story entirely. I feel like Jane is experiencing a similar problem with like a lack of setup for this moment. Like, I've talked to people in the comments about this because people like Jane, right, out there. And I have a feeling that part of that is because there's stuff of Jane's that I just have not seen yet, but she probably gets better. Because, I mean, you know, she's one of like the main cast at this point. But if the plan, which I don't know if it was the plan, but if the plan all along was that Jane was going to get brain controlled by the Condess and become like a evil minion for a while, why not like seed that more? Like, there was early stuff where she's like, I trust the technology of the Battle Witch entirely. And Roxy was like, oh my god, no, Jane, you're going to get mind controlled later. So like there was foreshadowing for it. But I feel like it'd be interesting if at the same time, like, she was sort of mourning the situation around her dad leaving, she was also like having identity issues surrounding like, well, my whole plan in my entire life was to become the heiress of this like baking empire and sort of lead it. But now I know that my like grandmother or whatever is evil. So what do I do now? Like, is there like some of that evil inside me? You know, like, is that why I'm screwing everything up? Because secretly I'm working for the Condess or something like that, and I don't even know it. And then eventually you get to the point where it's like, oh, no, but now you are. And it'd be an interesting thing where you could go like, so after the Dark Night of the Soul that you have after, what's it called? Trickster mode, where all the alpha kids are talking to each other for the first time in like 3 years as like people. You could have a cool thing where Jane could kind of just like give up the fight, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, well, maybe the problem is just that I've been trying so hard and hoping so much, you know? Like, I've put so much effort into all of these things and none of them have come to fruition, so we're in a null session. Maybe the best thing to do is just stop trying, you know what I mean? Until the people get here that we need. Why even try? And then it could be a cool thing where, oh, now the subliminal programming or whatever from all those years of wearing the Batter Witch machinery is starting to like worm its way into her mind. As soon as she stops like fighting for a hopeful future, it starts to worm her way in, and she starts getting slightly more evil and slightly more evil. And then when everybody shows up and there's like that moment where you think, oh, okay, now Jane is gonna like come around and like become hopeful again. She gets mind controlled and becomes evil, right? It's like a subversion almost on what you expect the arc to be. Like she goes into a depression and then comes out of it when John and everybody arrives, and now she has hope again. But instead she gets mind controlled and then just like takes out her anger at Jake and stuff, which is kind of what happened in the story. Basically what I want is just more, right? But the problem, I don't think, is actually Jane. I don't think the problem is actually her. The problem is just that there's too many other characters that the story is focused on. One of those being Dirk, who I have as best character. If we spent less time with Dirk and Jake, we probably could have spent more time with Jane, and things probably wouldn't have been so bad. However, Dirk is like awesome, and with all the screen time we spend on Jake, we get nothing. So I think it's still Jake. I'm sorry. As much as like it makes more sense for it to be Eridan, at least Eridan kind of served a purpose and then left, right? He didn't just stick around and keep absorbing screen time when other characters desperately need it. And again, like, I don't think it's necessarily Jake's fault. It's just that I don't personally find Jake's humor that funny anymore. It's more so just frustrating. And it just keeps happening. You know? Keeps happening. So that doesn't really help me that much. Any other final adjustments I want to make? No, I think I'm good. I think I'm good, yeah. Yeah, because even I was looking at C tier, like, do I want to move any of those characters around? No, because I still think Equius has the funniest shtick, and I like Fefri more than Nepeta. Even though Nepeta's, like, fun, I just feel like Fefri actually had slightly more going on before she got unceremoniously killed. Also, I just realized that the crown that evil Jane is wearing is the same crown that Fefri wears, but obviously it's Condesce technology instead. I didn't even recognize that. It makes perfect sense, but, you know, oops. Oh, somebody brought this up. Seems how I'm thinking about the Condesce air thing. Somebody brought up that the reason why Mina might want to skewer John so much is because John is the alt-universe version of Jane, and so John is technically an heiress to the Condesce's throne, and we know that the Purple Bloods or whatever are very, like, what would you call it? Regicidal, I guess. Like, they try to kill the heir in order to prevent them from taking over, you know? So it's like a natural urge for Mina to kill a potential heir to the throne. I think that's very funny. And it adds even more layer onto the one joke that I liked. From Mina specifically. Yeah. That feels pretty good. Man. My poor boy Tavros. Remember when I had Tavros in like A tier just because he was like a good person for a while? What happened to that? Okay. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, I guess. And now you can move on to the next episode. Although you could have just skipped this and moved on if you really wanted to. Oh well. Bye!